Now, brothers and sisters, I'd like to formally introduce the Executive Director of Canada's Building Trades Union, Sean Strickland. Sean is a proud son of a bricklayer and got his early start working as a laborer at just 15 years old. Since then, he's held various positions in the construction industry, including on the Waterloo Regional Building Trades Council, Ontario Construction Secretariat, and with Pomerleau before joining the CBTU in the summer of 2020, right in the midst of the pandemic. His drive and dedication has grown the CBTU team, but the scope of work the CBTU does on behalf of the influence that we have the building trades on Parliament Hill, and the recognition of who we are and what we stand for. His perseverance and ability to set a path forward has helped us to achieve some of our wins, and as yet, there's more to come. Please join me in welcoming Sean Strickland.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and it's great to be here, and thank you, everyone, for your attention and respect during the interview with Prime Minister Trudeau. As many of you know, I like to start off my talks with a little bit of a joke. So here's my joke for today. 2 Canadians die and end up in hell. Satan decides to pay them a visit, so he walks into the room and sees them talking and laughing. Confused, he asks them, why are they so happy? Well, they say to him, we're so sick and tired of the cold back home. This place is nice and toasty, so we're really happy. Satan, annoyed, storms away and goes to hell's boiler room where he turns up the temperature. He goes back to the Canadians' room, along the way being begged by all sorts of other people in hell to turn the heat back down. But he enters the room to see the Canadians having a barbecue. Furiously, he asks them what they're doing. Well, we can't pass up this wonderful weather without bringing out the barbecue. Satan realizes he's doing the wrong thing. He goes to the boiler room and he turns it down till it's at the coldest temperature that it's ever been. He knows he's won now. So he goes back to the Canadians' room only to see them jumping up and down and screaming and yelling in excitement. He shouts at them in fury, why are you still so happy? And the Canadians say, hell froze over, the Leafs must have won the cup. Yeah, as a lifelong Leaf fan, I feel that pain. I feel that pain. Well, brothers and sisters, it's great for me to be here today, and I'm going to give you an overview of some of the activities at Canada's Building Trades offices, and we're really pleased with the support of the engaged Canadian Executive Board that you were introduced to earlier today. We also, of course, have our leadership from NABTU. We'll be hearing from President Sean McGarvey tomorrow. And we have Brandon Bishop, Secretary-Treasurer, who's here today. So thank you very much for the great support that our team at Canada's Building Trades Unions receives from the Canadian Executive Board and from officers McGarvey and Bishop. And the Canadian Building Trades team is comprised of some core staff and some project staff, and we've been able to obtain some grants over the past number of years that help us deliver on some of our workforce development initiatives. Our core staff is busy doing work to help fulfill the objectives of our strategic plan, and also to make sure that we have relationships with owners to help us get more work in some of these great projects that are coming right across the country. In terms of workforce development, we have the Construction Trades Hub in partnership with Skill Plan and all the other provincial councils across the country. And we also have Building It Green. And there's a webinar available on Building It Green, and also we had a workshop on Building It Green this morning. So thanks to everyone who attended the workshop, and thanks to our national training directors who provided good leadership for Building It Green. On the Construction Trades Hub, just interestingly, this website is a website, electronic introduction to careers in the construction trades that are linked to all the different provincial councils, and people are going on there and participating. and filling in their information and experiencing videos on the construction industry. And every 2 weeks across Canada, we are receiving approximately 1,000 applications from people who are participating in this program to join our unions and join our industry. That is a significant testimonial to the amount of people who are interested in a career in the construction industry. So we're looking forward to working with that program going forward, fine-tuning it a little bit more, and supporting our local union halls in managing that influx you get of interest from young people who want to join your union. We know that you get a lot of applications. We know that the challenge is really how do you manage them, how do you process them, how do you coordinate the intake system, how do you pick and choose young people that are going to be a good tradesperson and apprentice. So we're looking forward to rolling that out a little bit further in consultation with the provincial councils and skill plan and our unions right across the country. We've also did the In the Trades program. You've heard me talk about this before, and we just wrapped this up. It's a shame it wasn't extended. Many of you participated. We were able to provide over $2 million in grants distributed to unionized contractors. Over 1,000 Red Seal apprentices have started their apprenticeship in 28 different trades. And if you remember, the incentive for this program was that if you hired a first-year apprentice, you received $5,000 as the contractor. If you hired a first-year apprentice who's from an equity-deserving group, you received $10,000. And so through this program, our target was 20% diversity. We achieved almost 50% equity-deserving groups, almost 500 of those apprentices from equity-deserving groups. So thank you very much to each and every one of you for your support of the In the Trades program. Who we are, you have heard this before, and you heard it from the chairman. We're the 14 international unions, 60 different occupations, 600,000 members coast to coast, so we generate 6% of Canada's GDP. We are a force. We're continuing to be a force, and with your support, we will even be a bigger force in the political dynamics of this country, where we fight for our members' interests, we fight for better working conditions, we fight for better safety, we fight for initiatives like investment tax credits. We are a force, and with your support, we will continue this journey of impacting Canadian legislators on the value of Canadian building trades members from coast to coast. Our mission is to advocate for public policy and work opportunities that benefit our members and improves the lives of all construction workers across Canada. Because you know, if the union benefits, all construction workers benefit. And we want all those construction workers to join our unions, but we also recognize the work that they do. And through our efforts, we make the entire construction industry better and stronger, and we make Canada stronger. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about some of our legislative achievements. We've heard some of these today. The labor mobility deduction for skilled tradespeople, that's been in place now for 2 years, where you're able to deduct your travel expenses not covered by a living out allowance. Tradesperson tool deductions being increased from $500 to $1,000. UTIP funding's doubled, it's $84 million. There's more money coming from UTIP through the Sustainable Jobs Stream. That'll be announced in the next few weeks. There's a current round of funding through UTIP that's available, and many of you are familiar with that, that's out in the marketplace right now. The underground economy, there was some good legislation announced in the recent budget around data sharing between the CRA and provincial governments around whether or not workers are registered appropriately within the construction industry. This was not well communicated in the budget. This is a kind of inside baseball regulatory initiative that has great promise for us to undercut the underground economy and get those workers back into the legitimate economy, create a dynamic where our contractors can compete for jobs in a more level playing field, and those contractors who rely on independent contractors and independent workers and avoid paying payroll taxes and WSIB and all those other things that you need to pay in the legitimate economy as a contractor will be clamped down upon. This is good for us and good for all workers across Canada, particularly good for unionized contractors. Investment tax credits. This is a phenomenal initiative that I'll break down in a little bit more detail in a minute. Sustainable jobs and anti-scab legislation. So let's talk about clean tech and clean hydrogen investment tax credits. So this was in response to the Inflation Reduction Act. You heard me speak with the Prime Minister about this, where you can get up to 30% tax deduction for investments in clean tech and up to 40% for clean hydrogen investments. And this is all part of the transition to a net zero economy. And to qualify for this full tax credit, companies must meet good labor standards. And so the government came to us, and some of the affiliates in this room, and said, help us define good labor standards. And we said, well, the gold standard for labor, wages, and benefits is the union collective agreement. And the government said, okay, we will make the gold standard the definition of prevailing wage. So these owners, in order for them to get these tax credits, these generous tax credits, have to pay our union wages, our union benefits, our union pension, our union overtime, our training fund, full package, full bubble in order to get those tax credits. This, I can't say it enough, is a fantastic win for workers and for our unionized workers right across Canada. As Bill C-59, I appeared before Parliament a couple of weeks ago speaking in favor of this bill, and I have had conversations with officials in finance. We're pushing hard to make this bill a reality before the House rises this June. And it's not only important for us. There are dozens and dozens of projects in every region of Canada that are waiting for this legislation to take place and to come into force and effect. And here are just some of them. Multiple hydrogen projects in Atlantic Canada and Alberta. Small modular reactor projects in Atlantic Canada, Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. I'm pleased to report that Canada's Executive Board signed an MOU with ARC, a small modular reactor manufacturer and developer in New Brunswick, who have plans to deliver 12 of these small modular reactors across Canada in the next 10 years, signed an MOU with us to make sure every one of those projects goes 100% union. New nuclear in Ontario, refurb nuclear in Ontario, clean tech manufacturing and mining projects in Quebec, carbon sequestration in BC, Saskatchewan, Alberta, LNG Phase 2 in Kitimat. Canada's Building Trades Executive Board and BC Building Trades had a meeting with LNG Canada today to continue on working alongside with them and signing an MOU for Phase 2 of that project in Kitimat, British Columbia. EV supply chains, you've heard about that. We have had some challenges with the EV supply chains, but there's projects on the books in Manitoba, and EV battery plants and supply chain in Ontario and Quebec. This list equals over $100 billion, a conservative number, over $100 billion in potential projects right across this country. And as I said, it's our full package. But moreover, it gets even better. They got to pay our full package, but they also have to meet the mandatory minimum apprenticeship requirement, which is 10%. And before Canada Revenue Agency cuts a check for that tax credit to that owner, they have to demonstrate that they are paying prevailing wage or wages, and they have to have the local union hall sign off that there are no more apprentices left in their union hall that could go to work on that project. . This is phenomenal legislation, and once it becomes law, it will take some resources at Canada's Building Trades and working with our provincial councils to make sure it's implemented correctly and that it's enforced correctly and that our contractors and our members are going to work and our apprentices are going to work. So we're going to need your support. We're going to get it across the finish line, but we're going to need your support in the field, that no games are being played and this prevailing wage legislation is being implemented and enforced appropriately. Sustainable jobs legislation, Bill C-50, the creation of a sustainable jobs secretariat, a sustainable jobs stream, as I mentioned earlier under UTIP, Sustainable Jobs Partnership Council. There's money attached to this to help with our training centers, to help prepare for all these new projects and energy sources of the future. So this is an important enabling bill and a strong signal from the government, and you heard it from Minister Regan, that we're at the table for this. They're not just saying we're going to decarbonize and we're going to move away from oil and gas and we're going to jump into all of these new electric vehicle plants and electric cars and all that stuff without unions being at the table to help manage that transition to a sustainable job stream. And if we're at the table, we can make sure that our members and all workers across Canada are positioned to go to work in the new economy of the future. No worker gets left behind. Thank you. Legislation to ban replacement workers. That is working its way through Parliament right now. They're going through line by line. We're really hopeful that that also will be legislation, groundbreaking legislation that will be put into place before the House rises this June. And many of our brothers and sisters in the industrial unions and from Canadian Labour Congress have done a lot of heavy lifting on this banning of replacement workers, and we thank them for their efforts to bring this forward and get it finished. Enbridge Line 5. We have done some heavy lifting with NAB2 and CBTU, and NAB2 in the States has submitted 5 briefs to the court. This is the pipeline that comes from Western Canada and it goes to the Straits of Mackinac, down through Lake Huron and into Sarnia and also into Michigan. And then from Sarnia it goes into another pipeline and it goes all the way up to the airport in Toronto and up to the pharmaceutical industry, et cetera, in Montreal. This is a significant pipeline for work for our members and for the Canadian economy that was in real jeopardy of being shut down. And we intervened, and many affiliates intervened, and when Minister Reagan was Minister of Natural Resources, he advocated strongly. We have submitted 5 briefs to the court. The pipeline's still operating. We facilitated a project labor agreement with Enbridge for the construction of the new pipeline that's going to replace the one that's under the Straits of Mackinac right now. So we're continuing to do this. We're working closely with Enbridge because of this partnership to secure more work for our members on their projects in the future. This is how we work at Canada's Building Trades. This is how we work at North America's Building Trades. We work together. If we're a partner and you need your help with your project and it makes sense, we will give you our help. But in return, you need to give us the work. Challenges ahead. You heard it today already, temporary foreign workers, international mobility program. I couldn't really get too deep into it with the Prime Minister because it gets very nuanced around these different ways in which foreign workers can get into our economy and go to work at a plant like Nexstar. Nexstar, we're not really sure if they're there. Well, we don't think they're there under a temporary foreign worker permit. We think they're there likely through the International Mobility Program, which is subject to a free trade agreement with South Korea. So we need to work with the government and continue to work with the government to stop foreign workers coming into our country on these jobs and other jobs through the temporary foreign worker program in British Columbia and in other provinces where there's Canadians available to do the work. It just makes sense. And when there's Canadians not available to do the work, well, let's have a conversation about temporary foreign workers. And we've done that throughout our history. So we need to continue to work with the government, put pressure on the government, put pressure on LG, Stellantis, and Nexstar. And I can say to you, in all seriousness, with the good support of the Ontario building trades and the Essex-Kent building trades and our contractor representative on our negotiating team with Nexstar, LG, and Stellantis, that if we hadn't put that pressure on, and if we hadn't submitted those letters the chairman referred to earlier, 7,500 letters have gone to the Prime Minister on this issue. If we hadn't have done that, I would suggest that there would be a damn more bigger number than 72 foreign workers on that job right now. So what you do and what we say matters. It matters. So when we ask you, and when the Canadian Executive Board asks you to do something, we really mean it and we need it because we see it as valuable and important for us to change some of the stuff that's happening that negatively impacts our workers and Canadians. And so we will continue to keep the pressure on the TFW file, on the International Mobility Program. We will continue to keep the pressure on to make sure the new investments in these new energy sources of the future and other investments have labor conditions on there that use our prevailing wage. We will continue to put pressure on to make sure we get the dollars available to train our workers of the future. And as part of this conference you'll hear over the next couple of days, we all know of the challenges we have with mental health and opioid use. So the challenges are there. The challenges are evident. We are all aware of all these challenges, but together we can meet these challenges. Together we have risen to meet some of these challenges, and we will continue to do that, but only with your support, with your letters, with your penny an hour, with your moral support, with your feedback, with your responses to our communications. We can and are making a difference, and I want to thank each and every one of you for that. And to do that, we have good government support. Prime Minister Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, they are all coming to our conference. The Prime Minister spent some good time with us here today. He's going to come back in the next couple of days. They are interested in what we want to say. They also, of course, want our votes. So let's be aware of that. And let's also be objective about that when we make our choices at the ballot box next year. And I will let you know, with the support of the Canadian Executive Board, we have good relationships with every one of the leaders, and we are prepared to work with whoever becomes the next Prime Minister of Canada. But let me assure you that from a nonpartisan way, what this current government has done for our unions and our members and for Canadian construction workers is pretty much unparalleled in Canadian history. It is absolutely 100% unprecedented. It's not easy, it's not been smooth, but it has delivered and will continue to deliver for our members with our support and your support and with your pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it is an honor and a privilege for me to serve as your Executive Director of Canada's Building Trades Unions. I love to go to work every day. You got a team that loves to go to work every day. Canadian Executive Board is engaged and committed. An office in NAB2 is fully supportive of our operations here in Canada. With your support, we are stronger together. Value on display every day. Thank you.